great day. It is Good Friday here in Australia, and we're always blessed by being ahead of the curve. It's always the first place, not the first place. New Zealand's ahead of us, there's a few islands ahead of us, but it's pretty cool. I thought I wanted to cover systems and habits today and just cover on similarities, differences. What is a habit? I have been a big fan of the habit-based lifestyle introduced to me by Garrett J. White out of Wake Up Warrior. I began with them in November 2017. And Garrett is essentially very heavy on one thing, which is habits. And so there's a bunch of habits that Wake Up Warrior instill in people or recommend. It's not a requirement. It's not like Garrett comes around and stands next to my bed and says, "Hey Tom, did you do any of the habits today?" But over time, they just became ingrained in me that basically a couple of things. One, using this software tool called the Stack, which is basically go through and clear my brain and get insight. Then doing Core 4, which sets up the day. And this all was extremely helpful, these habits that were established in my life. But when I look at them from a systems point of view, what is interesting is essentially these habits are systems that have been done so many times that the requirement for the instructions has fallen away. That essentially when I show up in the morning and bring up the Attack with the Stack app, I have been through all of them quite a lot of times, at least on the power front, that I've been through Mega Stacks something like 223 times. I've been through Angry Stacks 300 plus times, Gratitude Stacks 400 times, Happy Stacks I'm working towards 200. I think I'm about 115 at the moment. Like, I've been through these systems so many times that it's relatively smooth, and I don't need the instruction manual. It's like, okay, open and start. And this is essentially the way that I start every day. And I have, you can track, like that software will give you a streak. I think I'm at like 587, something like that. It's a lot. I've been doing this every day for the last year and a half. So that system has transitioned to habit. And this is extremely useful in a lot of ways. Like, I don't need to look at the instruction manual and go, oh, gee, what's next? And there's actually a lot of benefits from being so ingrained in these habits. It's like, okay, my brain knows what's coming next. There's a less of a, oh, what is this question that I'm being asked versus, okay, just a downloading of the information that needs to come out and the insights that I need to get from that tool. So at its core, though, these habits are systems that have just been done so many times, I don't need to think about them. So there are probably a bunch of things in your life that are habitual. They're systems that you don't need to think about. We talked in one of the other Facebook Lives about the dishwasher not being emptied. And it's like, okay, the system is empty the dishwasher when it's done so that when we start loading it, we know that they're all dirty. There's not a documented system for this in my family. There probably could be, and probably would be beneficial to review and say, hey, this is how we unload the dishwasher. And it's a very simple example, but there's three occasions that I wanted to discuss where systems that are documented is extremely helpful. The first of is when there's irregular usage of a system. Like if you're only coming to a system once every 10 days, once every 3 months, once every whenever it is, it's like, whoa, what am I doing again? This is not a habit system where you can just run without the instructions. You can, but the likelihood of errors, the likelihood of taking a lot more time to find the instructions and go, oh, where is it again? Oh, there was some changes that need to be made. Oh, I can't really remember that. I hope that this is okay. And so errors and time are both a problem when systems are not documented and they're used irregularly. The second time is when they're complex. So I was on a Kajabi Hero forum and someone asked how to set up a deadline funnel using Kajabi, and I like ran them through it. And when I ran through it, I realized that there's two Zapiers, there's two forms, there's two tags, one to start and one to end the email sequence. There's type form, and then there's the deadline funnel setup itself. Like, even though that only needed to be done once in order to set it up, there's quite a lot of steps in there where the complexity, if you don't get it right, if the tag isn't set up correctly, or the form's not set up correctly, or the Zapier is not set up correctly, then there's errors, and all of those errors take time to fix. But if it's written down and you just can pull out the standard operating procedure for this and go, okay, great, I need the forms here, I need tags here, I need deadline funnel here, I need emails here, I need links here, I need to insert the timers here. If you can get all of those things done, that what might take maybe 2 days can be reduced down to 3 hours if you've got the instructions. Like, I give you the analogy, it's a lot like trying to build Lego when you have the instructions and when you don't. That the Lego building experience without the instructions is pretty difficult. The Lego building experience with the instructions is generally pretty reasonable. Like, they've actually mastered instructions. Like, if there's one company that has mastered the deployment of instructions to ensure that if you follow step after step after step, you will end up with that Lego model. And I said 3. So the third one is where there's other people involved. So if you're in a business and you've got team and you're working with other team members, if you guys don't know what each one is working on, or who's assigned what, or hey, I thought you had this, but you don't, or what's going on, then this is obviously very difficult as well. So even though it might be a relatively simple task, if there's other people involved in it, then this is where you need some way of knowing that those instructions are being worked on to create something or deploy something in the business. And if that's missing, or someone in the team doesn't know that they've been assigned work and they're like, oh no, I didn't know. So that all has consequences in the way that they plan their day, how they assign what's important, what's not. So they're the 3 situations where habits is not really appropriate. Habits being systems that have been done so many times over and over and over, you don't need to have the instructions. But where do you need systems? You need systems in those 3 occasions. 1, it's complex. Number 2, you're coming to a system at an irregular time frame. Number 3, where there's other people involved. If this is a helpful conversation for you, you're like, oh my goodness, I know that I need to get my systems and processes on point, then head over to systemio.dev. Then you can put in your name, put in your email address, and I'll run through some ideas about how you can approach getting systems on point for your business, so that you can actually benefit from making more money in your business, and also hopefully having more time for yourself and for your family. All right, so head over to systemio.dev and go get that training. Thanks for tuning in today. Look forward to seeing you on another Facebook Live pretty soon.